Welcome, everybody. Welcome to an exciting webinar that we have to share with you today. So imagine yourself, welcome from Atlanta, everybody. Okay. So imagine yourself owning a real estate investing business where you can build wealth, achieve financial independence, and help people in your community.
Welcome to What's Your Next. This is the go-to podcast for aspiring business owners who want to get to the next level, escape the rat race, and give their middle finger to the corporate 9-to-5. If you want financial freedom, work-life balance, and the business of your dreams, you're in the right place. Dave and Stacy Riska, husband-wife franchising duo, openly share their successes, failures, and lessons learned in franchising, business ownership, and working with your spouse.
No, it's not a dream. It's a reality. And it can be your reality with the Homevestors franchise. Now, you may not have heard of Homevestors, but I bet that many of you on the call here today have heard of the We Buy Ugly Houses brand. Well, that's part of the Homevestors franchise. Today, you're going to learn about an exciting opportunity that will allow you to build a real estate business on your terms where you can buy houses at deep discounts from motivated sellers. Hi, I'm Stacy Riska, and I'm joined today by my husband, Dave Riska. We help you do what you love what you do in a business that's a perfect match for you. Now, did you wake up today thinking, I want to buy a franchise? Probably not. But we're thrilled that you're here to at least learn and explore about a franchise concept that just might end up being the business of your dreams. You're here because you want to learn more about the We Buy Ugly Houses franchise opportunity. So I have two great guests here with us today to help you learn more. I want to welcome Mike McKellar and April Neely. They're going to be presenting the opportunity and most importantly, making sure you get your questions answered. So those two housekeeping things are: one, yes, today's session is being recorded and everybody will receive the replay. And two, this webinar is about you and making sure your questions get answered. So please use the chat as we're going along to input any questions that you have, and or feel free to use the raise hand feature and we'll call on you and make sure you get your questions answered live. So thanks for being here with us. I'm going to share my screen. I'm now going to turn it over to Mark McKellar. This is what you really came for, to dive deeper and learn more about the We Buy Ugly Houses opportunity. Mark, the show is yours.
All right. Is my mute off?
We hear you. Yes.
Let's see. I need to share screen, right? Let me
Yes.
get to that. Make sure this is done correctly. Let's say that's on Zoom, so that's not what we want. Can you see it now?
It's coming up.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Good. Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. As Stacy and Dave said, and by the way, thank you so much for having us. We're very grateful to be part of this. I'm with Homevestors of America. I've got April Neely here with me. April has been part of this team, as I have, for a long time, and she would be, if you, through, of course, Stacy and Dave, if you get with them and y'all decide that you want to look further at Homevestors after you consult with them and go through what they've got for you, then April will be the first person you talk to, and she'll make sure that you get the right information you need about whatever market that you're in. Stacy, I don't know if it comes up for you, but when people want to be admitted now, it comes up on my screen. So
okay, you'll have to let them in.
Okay, I'll do that then. All right. So April's here. I'm here. I'm really grateful to be here. Like I said, I've been a franchisee with Homevestors, the We Buy Ugly Houses company, for 22 years. My first franchise was in Atlanta, Georgia, and Now I have one in Birmingham, Alabama. I've bought houses in really big markets like Los Angeles. I bought houses in little markets like Sherman, Texas. So I know about how this thing works all over the place. And I tell you, it's just a fun business. People ask me, they say, why are you still doing this after 22 years? I mean, I've got a pretty big rental portfolio. I don't really need to do the work, but it's just so darn much fun. We don't see it as work. I was fortunate to get matched up with a business that I love. And, I didn't come from real estate. I was in the printing business and the sign business and the senior care business, actually, those three things before coming into real estate. And I, was fortunate to get into this because I just love it and I never look back. But that's probably one of the hardest things for people to do is to make sure they're in a business they love, right? So you people that are out there, make sure you get with Stacy and Dave about that, making sure you get into something you love. This may be it, maybe it's not, but they're experts in helping people figure that out. So certainly use their resources. But a little bit about us. I'm not going to take long. We've found the best thing to do is let people ask questions. So Stacy, if you'll keep up with those, and if I need to answer them along the way, let me know. But otherwise, we'll do it at the end. Let me see if I can make this thing move. Got to figure. Oh, all right. There we go. Okay, so a little bit of an overview. We started in 1996 in Dallas, Texas, by a guy named Ken D'Angelo. Ken was buying houses, was selling houses as a broker back starting in the 70s. And by the mid 90s, he began to realize a lot of the people that he thought wanted him to list their houses actually needed to sell them. And he started buying more and more and more houses, and he ended up buying more houses than he was listing. So he really kind of got to be a full-time real estate investor by the mid 90s. And he was trying to do marketing and advertising, kind of like you see now that We Buy Ugly Houses. And he realized it was hard to do by himself in that big market. So he got some of his friends together and they all pooled their resources and they went out and they bought advertising together and figured out how to share the leads. And sure enough, it became a bigger, better business for every one of them. So that was kind of like the light bulb moment. It's like, hey, economies of scale really works in this real estate thing if you get together and work as a team. So that's how the franchise started. We've got over 1,100 franchises now in 170 markets. We bought over 140,000 houses in that period of time. So, this is a real business for us. We are the biggest home buyer in the United States. If you just look at our sales volume, we sold almost $2 billion last year. So it's a real business for us. A lot of people have seen We Buy Ugly Houses, right? But it's funny how people say, so I see your ads, but what do you do exactly? So this is what we do exactly. People call us from those advertisements. We take the calls directly, the franchisees. There's no call center or anything in between. And we talk to people about the reasons they called us and why they may need to sell a house quickly instead of using an agent. And if it makes sense, we set an appointment. We go see them. And we see the house and we look at the situation. And if it looks like one that would work for both of us, we'll make a discounted offer because we're paying all cash. We're doing it now. It's the convenience people are paying for. Some of you might be saying, why would anybody ever want to sell a house at a discount? And frankly, most of us will be fortunate enough that we don't really have to do that at any time in our lives. But there are lots of people that have something to happen in their lives that make them need to sell a house quickly. And it's really kind of no different than trading your car in. I mean, why would you trade your car into a dealer when you could sell it online? You're going to sell it at a discount, right? But you do it for the convenience. And this is really the same thing. It's just a little bit higher priced item, but it's the same concept, the same reason that people have. And, if you want to learn more about those reasons, get a hold of us and we can run you through them. But there's just a multitude of reasons that people need to sell houses quickly. If we accept the offers that we make are accepted, then we buy the houses with cash. HomeVestors has lending programs. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Because the money is, of course, important when you're trying to buy a house. And once we buy a house, there's several things we can do. We can either mark the house up and sell it as is, maybe to another investor. That's called wholesaling. Or we could fix it and sell it to somebody who wants to live in it. That's your typical rehabbing that you hear about, that you see on HGTV and all those kinds of things. or we could keep it as a rental. And we do a lot of that in this business. And we'll talk about the importance of that in a little bit. So if you're going to be in the home buying business at all, why do you want to do it with us? Okay, well, there's some basic things Home Ventures does that you just can't get if you're trying to do this on your own. And the first two things listed here, lead generation and finance, those are the two biggest issues that all investors have. I don't care whether you're with us or not. You got to find good transactions to do. You got to find the right houses that you can buy at a discount so that you can actually make, have a business where you generate revenue. And that's the hard thing. And Homevestors has this lead generation machine. That's that we buy ugly houses you see. But you don't, until you're in the business with us, you don't really understand the breadth of it. We do television, direct mail, internet, all social media. We do different types of television and outdoor. All of those things are handled by an in-house ad agency. So the franchisees don't have to do any of that themselves. They just decide how many houses they want to buy. You back into that, how many leads you need to buy that number of houses, and that's how big of a check you write, and that's the leads that you get in. So it's an in-house way to generate the calls directly from the sellers. And the impact of it being in-house is that we can track everything we do. Like if you're just an independent investor and you want to go to a mail house, anybody can buy a direct mail list, right? But when you send those pieces of mail out, nobody's tracking how many calls you get. Nobody's tracking how many contracts you might write, how many houses you might buy from all of that. There's no visibility into that, into the whole sales process. At Homevestors, there's a feedback mechanism because all the franchisees track everything that happens with every lead, and all that information is sent back into the home office, and then they refine the advertising based on what they're hearing from the franchisees. So we've learned over the last 25 years how to craft the message, what ways to send the message out, what type of houses we should be targeting, what type of statistical results we should have. It's just a system for generating leads and performing that you can't get anywhere but at Homevestors, because nobody's done this for 25 years but us. The financing that we have is 100% for the purchase and the repair of the houses. Now, that may not mean much to you if you're not a real estate investor, but if you're somebody who's tried to finance houses that need repairs, banks don't do that. And being able to get 100% of the money, that's not easy to do. And that's important when you're buying a lot of houses, to be able to get 100% of the money you need. So those two things are critical. But we have some other things that help franchisees also. The third thing, the shared territory model, that kind of goes back to how I said Ken developed this thing in Dallas. If you're in Atlanta, for example, where I started, and you decide you want to advertise there, you want to be part of what's called the Atlanta Ad Council, all the franchisees belong to a council, and they pool their money, and then the money is spent for the council as a whole. And so when the leads come in, they go out to the franchisees in a rotation pro rata. So if you and I are in the same market, for example, and I'm spending half as much as you're spending, you're going to get twice as many leads as I get. So everybody can tailor make their own budget based on their own needs. And because we're all getting our own leads, we're not taking leads from each other or fighting each other for the same leads. We don't see each other as competitors. So we share all our resources. We buy and sell houses from each other. The franchisees meet, the ad councils meet in a market every month and talk about what they're doing. It's a collective cooperative thing. I've owned a number of franchises. I've never seen any cooperation amongst franchisees like this. It's all the time. Our franchisees are talking to other franchisees and going out with them on calls and sharing information constantly. So that shared territory model is a real benefit. I own a decent rental portfolio, and I own it in several cities. And that is because of this shared territory model. I've been able to buy rentals from other franchisees in various places I wanted because we cooperate and talk to each other so much. So it's just a bigger machine than if I was by myself. And as long as I want to buy houses, I'm not leaving Homevestors. If I decide to quit buying houses, I'll retire. But until then, I don't know any reason I would try to do it on my own, because I wouldn't have these things. This development agent program that you see here, What that refers to is an internal in the field training program that Homevestors devised. Frankly, we got the idea from Subway, so it's not our idea, but it is where one local franchisee in a market who's already established a level of success, he is recruited by the home office out of Dallas to do local support. So if you buy a franchise, say in Seattle, Washington, you're not counting on somebody in Dallas to try to train you up there. You've got, up there it's Denise and Paul Myers, who are local franchisees who are already successful there, who will show you the ropes in the local market, take you out on buy calls, actually go with you to meet sellers, explain to you all the local conditions. So that's something that is really unique to Homevestors. If you join in a territory, you've got a local development agent that will help you in your training in the field. We've got some proprietary technology. We have software programs that help franchisees, especially new franchisees, value property and make sure that you don't make mistakes and buy the wrong house or underestimate repairs. It's really amazing how well these tools work. I've trained on these tools, and we can take a room of 20 people and teach them the basics in a couple of hours of how to use the program, and then it's on an iPad, and then go out and look at a house that's needs repairs, and everybody walks around and points and clicks and does the stuff in the iPad you're supposed to do, and we'll go back to the office and look at everybody's results. We'll be within 10 or 15% of each other. That's the first time people have used it, and this will be people that don't even know anything about real estate. So there's a lot of checks and balances. I think it was Dave said earlier, you don't need to have experience or be a real estate agent to get in this business. You don't need any experience at all, because these tools will help you in that. And I mean, I'm evidence of it. I didn't know anything about real estate when I got in this business. I was from the printing and the sign business. So, Homevestors taught me everything I knew. I bought 32 houses my first year in Atlanta, and I couldn't have done that there's no way I would have done that without the systems. And if you really want to see proof in the pudding of the fact that these things work, half our franchisees are referrals from other franchisees. And most of the time in the same market. So think about it. I mean, why would people refer people into their same market if it didn't work the way that we're talking about it working? So does it work? Well, in 2022, we purchased almost 10,000 houses. And like I said earlier, we sold, 1.78 billion in properties. But this second statement is an important one about building wealth. Our franchisees own more than 15,000 rentals as a group. Owning rentals is a very fundamental part of our business for those that want it. If you don't own any rentals, you don't have to, but it's a wealth building tool, unlike what you find in most businesses. If you buy most types of businesses, you have an opportunity to generate a good income. And if you run it right, you might be able to sell it one day. And that's your wealth building, right? In our business, we have a wealth building tool that goes along the way with your business. Every single time I buy a house, I have a choice. I can sell it for cash, or I can keep it as a rental. And because I bought it at a discount, I'm instantly increasing my net worth by the equity in that house. So, there's a built-in wealth building tool every time I buy a house. And that's a very unique thing to real estate. I think that really gets a lot of people attracted to this, because they see that wealth building tool. And there's something about ROI that you may be interested in. The item 19, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in a minute, shows that for every dollar our franchisees spend in advertising, they have a gross margin price differential. That means the difference in what they paid for the house and what they sold the house for, of about $7. So this business is a revenue generator. We've got lots of awards in our rankings, different types of awards. I think the ones that are most important to me are the one that's in red here, top 50 in franchisee satisfaction. That means people like what they do. Earlier you had it in one of your slides, and when I was looking at those things and I was deciding why am I doing this business? Well, two of them hit me. I do it for fulfillment, and I do it because I have a good time, right? For fun. And I think that shows in our franchisee satisfaction. I mean, people aren't satisfied with their business. I don't care how much money they make if they're not having a good time. So that one's important to us. There's another one that's important that's not on this screen, and it has to do with our seller satisfaction, the people that we buy houses from. We average a 96% positive experience rating from the people we buy houses from, which we're really very attuned to. We're in the business of helping people. That's what we're in the business of doing. And so we want to keep that satisfaction very high, and it is. It's over 95%, averages 96%. So we're very happy about that. A little bit about the investment. The range is 89 to 461. That's a huge range. How in the world do you know where you fall on that? To Dave's point earlier, you don't have to be made of money to get in this business. There are ways to finance some of this if you need to. But the range really has to do with two things. If you're in a small market, a market that has cheap houses, then your investment is going to be less to get started. Okay. Now, of course, that also means you make less when you sell every house. You know, if you buy and sell 20 houses in Los Angeles, that's going to be a lot higher revenue business than 20 houses in Shreveport. Okay. But on the flip side, getting started in Shreveport is a lot cheaper. So it kind of evens out over time. But so if you're in a really expensive market, you're probably going to go more toward the higher end of this. If you're in a cheap market, you may be on toward the lower end. And another thing that affects it is how aggressive you want to be. If you are starting your business slowly, maybe more part-time, you have a job, you can maybe only buy a small number of houses in the beginning and work your way into a more bigger business. If you do that, your investment will be lower up front. Of course, you will make less money up front too, but your investment will be less. I'd say your investment, if you're starting part-time, is probably less than half of this total amount. It would be probably $250 or less in any market if you're starting slowly. If you want to be really aggressive, one of these people that buys 40, 50 houses in their first year, then you're going to make a lot of money doing that, but you're also going to spend toward the top of this range. So how much it costs you is really, a lot of that is a personal choice. You're choosing where you live, and you're choosing how aggressive you want to be in your business. There's two ways to pay your franchise fee. One is an associate franchise, which is $39,000, and the full franchise is $85,000. The difference in operation is nothing. You get exactly the same business. You have exactly the same opportunity, exactly the same training. So what is the difference? The difference is how you pay home investors. Most people get in as an associate because what you're doing is you're paying a lower fee up front, and then you pay a little bit higher royalty until you make up that difference. So you're getting in for a lower price, and then you're paying a little higher royalty for a period of time. Most people like that idea because they get to keep their money in their pocket, right? But if you want to start out with the lowest royalty you can from the very beginning, you start with the higher fee. Item 19, we talked about it earlier. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. You can get an FDD and you can really drill down. Our gross price differential is $603,000. So, we've got a decent amount of margin in this business. Our highest was almost 10 million. So, we've got people that are on the lower end of that. We've got people that are on the higher end. If you get an FDD, you can see how these averages break out in different parts of the country and how they break out depending on how aggressive you are in your business. Okay, so I'd recommend you get one and look at it because it'll break it down more specifically into how you may want to operate your business and where you are. Okay, so that's important to do. And by the way, the only difference between people that are small operators and large operators in this business are their own personal goals and how much they want to spend in marketing and how many houses they want to buy. Everybody has the same territory definition in Atlanta. It's not like one person has a better corner than another person. That's not the way this works. Everybody gets the same calls from the same parts of town. And the only difference between one person and another is how much they spend in marketing and how many calls they take and how many houses they buy. We've got markets where a lot of markets where you'll have one person buying 100 houses a year and other people in the same market buying 10 or 15 a year. And the only difference is their choice. Anybody can be anywhere on those levels. So you are in complete control of your volume and how you do in the business, depending on how aggressive you want to be in your advertising and how hard you want to work. So the kinds of people that are interested in this business, experienced investors are people that are already trying to buy houses and just can't figure out where to get deals or where to get enough money. And about half our franchisees are these kinds of people that are already know they want to be in real estate. Those are the people that are going to call you, Stacy, and go, this is what I want to do, and then you're going to have folks that aren't like that are really just kind of like I was. I just sold my printing business. I was getting ready to sell my sign business. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I met the owner of Homevestors by accident. I met him at a party, and 30 minutes after I met him, I knew what I wanted to do. And an hour later, I had him at home on my front porch. So I took him home. I said, honey, this is what we're doing. So anyway, a lot of our franchisees, half of them are like this, are these kinds of people that are just sick of their jobs, don't know what they want to do, got to get out of what they're doing. And it doesn't matter which of these you are. We can tailor make our program for people with any experience level. But this thing at the bottom, needing to love to help others, I'd like to end with this because, this is really where the rubber meets the road for us. People that do well in our business, yes, they have a desire and a passion to build a real estate business. You can't, you're going to get calls every day from people that have these messed up houses. You got to go run around in them and check them out, right? You got to love being in the street, love being in people's houses, and love real estate. If you don't love it, it's going to be hard to do this business. You got to have a little bit of money. And of course, if you want to figure that out in your local market, get with us later and we can tell you how to figure out exactly what that would look like for you based on where you are and what you want to do. When you start this advertising, you got to start paying for it, and then leads start coming in and you start going out and making offers and buying houses, but it takes a couple of 3 months to get transactions done, right? So in the very beginning, you got to have a little money to weather the ad payments until you start generating cash. And you got to have a commitment to build a business. And I think this is really more, Dave, you and Stacy's bailiwick, to have conversations with people about that. But it's hard to do this or anything if you're not committed. But the last two things are most important to us at Homevestors. We like to say we're not in the real estate business. We're in the people business. We are creative problem solvers. We are helping people fix a really tough problem in life that they have at the moment. You need to be good with people and you need to be committed to serve. This is our mission statement. We provide real life solutions that improve lives. This is what drives us. So if this drives you, then maybe you're the kind of person that needs to look into this further. So next steps. Talk to Stacy and Dave. So that's what I have. I hope I gave enough of a background to generate some questions.
Yeah, let's open it up for Q&A. Feel free to put those in the chat, raise your hand, unmute yourself. We want to make sure everybody gets their questions answered today. Mark, thank you. You presented such an incredible opportunity. Dave and I, we talk to a lot of people, and when we go through, remember I said those 90 different categories, everybody wants to do real estate, right? Because, passive income, I want to own a real estate business. And yours is the most simple model that is built around a concept of actually everybody helping each other. You can go in as far and as fast as you want. If you want to keep your job and kind of dabble on the side, you can do that. If you want to go all in, you can do that. And it's a system where I say, rising tide lifts all boats. Everybody helps each other. So it's really an incredible model. I see that Kale has a hand up. So Kale, go ahead and unmute yourself. We'd love to hear your question.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. Kale English. I actually own two real estate companies today, and I'm very familiar with Homevestors. Actually, I was referred to Homevestors, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago when I first started investing in real estate. The reason why I was drawn to this particular franchisee presentation that was being given today is that today I own about 85 single family home rentals, as well as some multifamily and some storage facilities. I haven't bought a single one of them retail. They've all been through wholesalers. They've all been through direct off-market deals. They've all built this entire portfolio based on, the Burr method, if you will. What really attracts me to this is being able to go out there and acquire your own deals with the marketing machine that Homevestors is. Can you walk me through I guess maybe for the sake of the audience who may not be as well versed in this, but maybe walk us through, what does that first 30 days look like with Homevestors? What does that initial investment look like, et cetera, for the marketing spend? Because this is a marketing machine, right? And that's how we bring leads in the door. That's how we transfer leads into the pipeline. So kind of walk me through that if you can.
Okay. Where are you, by the way?
I live in Delaware, but I invest in Southern New Jersey, Southeast Pennsylvania, Eastern Shore, Maryland, all of Delaware, and the Jacksonville, Florida MSA.
How many you got in Jacksonville?
Roughly 20.
If you decide to sell them, let me know.
Will do.
I've got about 50 in that area, and we've got, I don't know, 350 in Birmingham. Got another 100 outside of Dallas and southern Oklahoma. So we're kind of,
when you were sharing your target areas there, Atlanta, Birmingham, Dallas, I just knew that you were in the hot spots from the very get-go. Very well done.
Yeah, I mean, I bought a lot of houses in other markets too. I bought a lot of houses in Los Angeles. I had a franchise out there for years, and it was a great place to make money. But the cap rates just aren't as good out there as they are in different areas. So, but to answer your question, to answer it succinctly, it's not an easy answer because it all depends on what you want to do. I'll give you an example. When I started my franchise outside of Dallas, I had specific goals. I had an operating partner there. I have a house in Monterey, California. I live in the fall, and I've got a house in the Caribbean I'm in most of the year, which is where I'm at now. So I don't live in any of the markets I buy in actively now. I typically bring on an operating partner to do that. In the beginning, I was doing all my own stuff, but now I'm at the point where I just let somebody else do the heavy lifting. So I brought an operating partner on outside of Dallas, and we decided what our goals was we wanted to be able to generate it. He needed a certain amount of income. So we figured out how many houses we needed to buy to meet his income needs. And then we decided how many rentals we wanted to keep on top of that. And our goals were, we needed to sell, we figured somewhere between 10 and 15 for him to be able to make the money he wanted. And we wanted to keep another 20 rentals. So we knew if you add those up, that was about 30 houses for the year. So we backed into how much money we needed to spend to meet those goals. And in the first year, we bought 35 houses. We sold 14. That was his income, and we kept 21 rentals. So, that was because that's the way we wanted to do it. I have no idea what you would want to do. So I can't really tell you what it would look like until we, talked about that more. But our first 30 days, Jacob went to training in Dallas. That was a week. And we set it up to where when you get out of training, really almost within the next few days, your phone's ringing from sellers. I mean, we coordinate it like that so that you're not a lot of dead time, right? A lot of downtime. So when he got back, his phone was ringing from sellers, and he was taking the calls and, doing what we said in the first couple of slides. He was taking calls, setting appointments, going out, making offers, writing contracts. I mean, that was just, now in the very beginning, it's like any business, you got to fill a pipeline. When you look at those 35 houses we bought, okay, we bought over half of them in the last 4 months of the year, because you just, you take a whole lot of calls and people want callbacks, and they don't buy right now. I mean, don't sell it to you right now. They sell it to you in 3 months because they, got to figure something out. They got to figure out where they're going, whatever. So you usually in the first 3 or 4 months, you may buy 20% of what you buy for the year. And in the next 3 or 4 months, you'll buy, another 30 or 40% of what you buy for the year. And in the last 3 or 4 months, you buy 30 or 40% of what you buy for the year, right? So it just kind of, the first few months is about filling the pipeline. It's about taking the calls, going out, meeting sellers, buying a few deals, but really filling your pipeline to where you have consistent deals coming in after 4 to 6 months.
100% makes sense. And I don't want to tie everyone down with just my question, so this will be the last one for me. But what about back end support, CRM or access to a CRM, et cetera? Also franchise build out, i.e. with VAs, virtual assistants, other organizational structuring, et cetera.
April,
to build, grow, and scale.
Yeah, April, that's on the phone here, actually. I know she's smiling because she has a lot to do with helping people with the kind of thing you're talking about. But we have a customized, we spent millions of dollars customizing Salesforce to be a CRM that literally everything's dumped into it. When you get a phone call from a seller, all of that information, their phone number, anything we know about them, their address, whatever they filled out in their form is all downloaded directly into Salesforce. And those leads are your leads, and they're sticky to you. If those people ever call back, they go route right back to you. Okay. And then everything you do with that lead, you enter into Salesforce. So all your communication, all of your follow-up, all of your appointments, all of your activity, all of your performance metrics are in there. So at any given time, you can go and look up your own performance metrics. We call it FAR stats. It's how many leads, how many appointments, how many contracts, how many offers, how many purchases, how you sold them, what you sold them for. All that is compiled, and you can compare that data to your data to all the franchisees in your market at any given time. Franchisees get together and share all that information. So it's really transparent. I mean, where every dollar goes, where every lead is generated, who gets it, what happens to it. I mean, we are data driven. We couldn't do this business otherwise. I mean, I think we got more of that than you probably are going to want. It's more than I want. I don't use half the reports that I could run.
Well, I appreciate that background.
Sure. As far as people are concerned, you hire them when you need them. You can start this business out by yourself with maybe one person helping you with details. If you're the buyer personality, if you're the person who's going to go out and meet sellers, that's you, and maybe you have somebody helping you with busy work. But Jacob and I, that business that we had in Dallas, the first year we bought our 35 houses with one part-time assistant and the two of us. So it's not like you need a lot of people. The virtual assistants, you may or may not even need that. I mean, all of the lead generation is done internally, and you're going to want to take those calls or have somebody on your staff take them. So we do have virtual assistant services available, but you're going to be way down the road in your business before you'll need any of that, I think.
Got it. And I've already got 6 who work on staff for me, and just understanding where to plug and play and see where that additional synergy is.
Yeah. I mean, you know what you're going to find? This is something that you put on top of your business to make it more efficient.
Sure.
You're not gonna throw all that away. You're gonna use all that stuff still.
Yeah, I see it as the marketing advantage that you bring. You just have such the well-known name and brand. Anybody in that situation who might be thinking of selling is going to feel very comfortable calling that number. And on the other side, for you and your business, You're just, it addresses the problem of figuring out how to do it all yourself. And the biggest challenge in most businesses comes down to the marketing. And you've just answered all of it. You guys are, like you said, you're a marketing business more than anything. You are a marketing machine.
Yeah, that and you just hit on something else that that Cale brought up. He buys houses in various markets, right?
Right.
So do I. And Homevestors facilitates that in a big way for me. The franchisees in markets, all those rentals I buy in Birmingham, I bought 80% of them from the franchisees that are there. I'm not there. I bought them from them. Okay. And if I have a problem with one of those houses, I call one of those people and say, hey, listen, you can help me fix this because I have contacts in that market that are part of this franchise. You said you buy in Delaware, Jacksonville, in parts of Pennsylvania. We're going to have franchisees in all those areas that can sell you houses, that can help you with contracting, that can help you with management. I mean, just being part of a bigger group makes that type of thing much easier to do, to own in various markets, because you have people you can trust all those places.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's actually one of the biggest advantages that I'm hearing here, because as we go out and venture into a new market, it's that network, it's that initial buildup of your overall team, of the contractors, of your legal staff, of everyone else associated in that particular area. That's what takes so long to, not necessarily so long, but that's the big heavy lift in going into a new market. That's why we're very particular about what markets we go into, and there's got to be a big enough splash in order to make that heavy lift worthwhile. But having this network here, that definitely seems appealing.
Oh, it helps. I mean, if I want to go to a new market and I got a house in that market, first thing I'd do is I'd call the local franchisee and say, are you going to take a look at this? Is this a good idea? Should I buy this? And I know I can trust that person. Right. I mean, they speak the same way I do. They were trained the same way I am. We look at things the same way. They'll send me a report in the iPad software program I was talking about on this house that I recognize. It's the same report I use, right? So it's why I don't leave. It's why after 22 years I'm still here.
So you had talked about royalties, and you also had talked about kind of some of the other pieces, or the hard money, the private money piece that was involved. Can you go into a little bit more detail there?
Not sure what detail you want. We've got Homevestors has their own internal money source. They've got two in-house lenders. One's called Silver Hill. The other one is just Homevestors internal lending. And then we've got a handful of outside lenders that give our franchisees better rates than they give anybody else. And you might have heard some of these lenders: Kiavi, RCN, ResCap. They lend to other investors, but not at the rates they give us, and not 100% financing. So the Homevestors model will allow you to get better rates and better terms that you can get on your own. Now, it's never going to be as good as bank money, but bank money is really not practical, right? I mean, this is hard money. You don't have to do any personal applying. I mean, it's all based on the equity in the house. So, you can close on loans in 2 weeks or less even. Rates will run these days from 8.9 to 11.9, somewhere in that range, depending on what kind of deal you're doing and how many you're doing with somebody. We've also got long-term financing. I don't know whether you got that, who you use for that, but Silver Hill does long-term. We have other relationships too.
I assume those are all just DSCR loans.
DSCR and the equity in the house. I mean, you typically have a 1.25 DSCR minimum and a 75 or 80% loan to value cap, usually somewhere in that range.
Yep, makes sense.
Great questions, Cale. Thank you so much. Anybody else? We want to make sure you get your questions answered. I know Cale has real estate experience. Some of you on here noted that you didn't. So let's make sure you get your questions answered. Feel free to unmute, raise your hand, and/or put in the chat. All right, so you might be wondering what's next. Many of you probably are kind of letting this all kind of bubble up, a lot of questions, things you want answered. So what is next? Well, Dave and we want to invite you to explore and join us for a dream business matchmaking session. We can help you learn more about the We Buy Ugly Homes opportunity and certainly connect you to April, which would be your first point of contact to start getting the FDD and your questions answered. So just go to explore.nextlevelfranchisegroup.com. That will connect you to our calendar where you can grab a day and time at your convenience. Also, feel free to take a screenshot of this. You can reach out to us via email, phone, text, and definitely take advantage of our website. There's lots of free information and resources on there. So in closing out, any other questions you want to make sure you get answered live before we close out today? Mark, I'll let you give the closing words.
All right. Well, I really appreciate everybody being here. It means a lot to us. You'd take your time in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week. If this is something that buying houses and helping people the way we do is attractive to you, then, you know, get back, of course, with Next Level. By the way, I love y'all's logo. I was noticing that earlier. Pretty creative. But get with Stacy and Dave if you want to talk to us, and also know that if you don't really want to talk to us, get with them anyway, because they got lots of things you can look at other than real estate. So this
3,999 other concepts.
Right. Yeah, because I might have talked you out of it. So if I did, just get with them about something else.
That's okay. That's part of the process. But usually people who make it to the end are very interested, eager, and excited to learn more. So we're here to help you through that process, ensure you get your questions answered, and also make sure that it's a good fit before we transfer you over to the HomeVestors brand. So feel free to reach out to us anytime. Dave and I are always here to serve and support you. And I know Mark would welcome the opportunity to help you learn more about this amazing opportunity. Thank you for attending today's session. Mark, April, Karen, thank you to the HomeVestors team. We really appreciate you sharing your opportunity with our audience today. Make it a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.